Hey everybody, it is me again, and this week I'm going to talk to you about Andrew Jackson, the time period in which many historians call the Age of Jackson, and Indian removal. And when I do this lecture, I like to incorporate this musical that I find really funny. Called Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson. So I'm going to give you a little segment of a lecture and then a recording of a song from the musical. I highly recommend you watch them because they're absolutely hilarious, and pay attention to the lyrics because they're particularly funny. And so I hope it just makes learning this history a little bit more fun. It was, I know everyone's super into Hamilton right now, the musical, but this one was from a couple years back, and I was lucky enough to see it and became kind of nerdly obsessed with it, so I like to share it. So, all right, I'm going to tell you to start today. I'm just going to tell you a little bit, sorry, this thing's being wonky, about Andrew Jackson. Okay, so when Andrew Jackson was inaugurated as president in 1829, it marked a clear change in American politics because he was the first president not born to an elite family, and part of the elite group of individuals. Instead, he had actually quite humble beginnings. After his inauguration, just to show you kind of the excitement that people had about him being elected as president, and also the change from elite to kind of ordinary common men that were participating in politics and excited about Andrew Jackson. I think a good story to kind of show you all of that is that after his inauguration ceremony, a crowd of 20,000 people piled into the White House and basically partied. They ruined furniture, broke fancy china. It was insane. So he actually didn't even stay there that night because they had to exit him out of there. But so his supporters believed that he represented true and genuine democracy because he was from a common background and was considered a common man that created his own power and his own wealth. Okay, so that American dream kind of concept, he is easily recognizable as one of the figures that kind of made that true or represented that. Whether or not that's true, that's questionable, whatever, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so Andrew Jackson in the 1830s and the 1840s actually refers to the time period known as the Age of Jackson because of Andrew Jackson's career and how it embodied the major developments of an era that included the growth of the market, westward expansion, which we talked about last week, and the growth of slavery and democracy. So he is actually very much tied to a lot of the stuff we even talked about last week, and it's considered under his reign and his power. Okay. As I said, he became the symbol of a self-made man. I want to talk a little bit about his younger years. Okay, he was born in 1767 on the South Carolina frontier. He was orphaned at a young age during the American Revolution. So he was young and didn't have parents, so he had the likelihood of him succeeding as president at this time would have been minute. He served as a courier for the Patriots forces during the American Revolution. He was quite young at this point. He was actually captured and imprisoned during the American Revolution and almost killed by a British officer when a British officer struck him with a sword after Jackson refused an order to polish the officer's boots. Okay. Following the war, he moved to Tennessee, and this is actually a picture of his home in Tennessee. I actually got to visit it a couple years ago. It's called the Hermitage, and he became involved in local politics. In the 1790s, he won the election to become a member of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and became a judge on the state Supreme Court. So he was participating in local and federal government at that point. In 1815, as a general, Andrew Jackson and his troops won a very decisive and important battle, the Battle of New Orleans, in the War of 1812. And although the war had actually ended at this point, the news that the signing of the Treaty of Ghent, which ended the War of 1812, had not actually reached the US from Europe, and the military clashes between the British and the Americans had continued. After a 3-year struggle against the quite superior British troops and military, both on land and naval forces, the outnumbered American Army and Marines succeeded in preventing the British from gaining a foothold in the southern territories of Louisiana and western Florida, and that was through the Battle of New Orleans, and he was leading this battle. This caused his military career to make him famous throughout the U.S. because he won this battle decisively, and it was very important to the Americans. So this kind of gave him a sense of fame across the U.S., so which would then allow him to become president later. Also, his military campaigns against the British and the Indians, he was often fighting Indians, helped consolidate American control over the Deep South, so it gave them better control of the Deep South, making possible the rise of the Cotton Kingdom, which I did also talk about last week with the invention of the cotton gin by Eli Whitney. This allowed this booming cotton production in the U.S., and his battles against the British and Indians also gave them greater control of the Deep South, which then allowed that area to become the Cotton King. Okay. At this point, so he acquires the Hermitage, and I just wanted to show you a few more pictures. He had slaves on the Hermitage. I'm sorry. So this is one of the dining rooms, quite fancy, so clearly he has made quite a bit of money for himself. This is slave quarters. This is, sorry, there we go. This is the, where he's buried, and a memorial out there, and then this is my dad being goofy. All right, so I'm going to now stop this video, give you a video from the Bloody Andrew Jackson, and then I will make another video talking about some more history. All right, perfect.